Well, unfortunately, money is always the big drive on everything. It's always the big challenge, and it's not about money. It's about budgeting, which is about priorities, which is about what we need to address first. And uh, but if
Another
that
quote for the
wasn't
show.
if that wasn't always the big challenge, if we could make things happen, and this requires integration or a lot of cooperation. Airports, hospitals, large businesses, cities, all typically require events and training drills. Collaborating those efforts to integrate those operations so that you truly get a large operation, I think would give the biggest effect. You would have to develop to that, so that have to be training modules up until you built to that. It would require work and forecasting and people staying consistent with the operation. Those are other challenges to face. But some of the best exercises I've been in, and the medical component, the MSOC conference you went to a couple of weeks ago, was a component of that. Was part of it was a CIDRA, a community involved disaster response exercise, and did a couple of those. There was one in Connecticut that I missed out on. I got to be a part of one in Wichita many years ago. Phenomenal. Multi-day exercise, multi-agency, multi-involvement. And it was a impromptu terrorist scenario where the truck bomb detonated before its target, then created the fire and collapse aspects, but also a SWAT element. So police investigation, and then integrating with JTTF and FBI, and bringing in those elements who also need to do exercises, coordinating that whole element. They were given a piece. Then the fire service, they had to do their piece. Water supply, water loss because of the explosion devastated the water mains in the area. So they had to do that piece, which damaged several buildings in the area, reminiscent of the Oklahoma City bombing. Then you had multiple buildings that had to be searched and structurally supported and prepared. So then you have your vendor application of cranes coming in and heavy equipment, patient management, hospitals, transport, infrastructure, sustainment, large exercise. A lot of pieces, but it's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. It can be done. It just has to be supported. And having enough right people, I think in certain regions, would be able to make that happen. It would just take a collective of time of a work group. Don't call it a committee because it doesn't get done. Call it a work group so the work gets done, and see if you can put something like that together. And that's something that could be done every 3 to 5 years on a large scale. It takes a long time of planning, but I think that truly tests an agency or region on their true capabilities and gives honest answers. And unfortunately, some people don't want honest answers, and it's typically an inhibitor. But if we're truly serving our community in whatever aspect and role that you serve, you should want to be able to be willing to take in those answers so that you can perform better. Because all our purpose, my purpose as a firefighter, as a district chief, as a task force leader, is to serve my community. And part of my community is my family. I purposely live in the city of Orlando, so I serve my family. And I want my firefighters and everybody I work with to do their best because they're serving my family when I can't.
That's
so
awesome.
If we take that approach, I think we would probably put a little bit more exercise, a little more energy into some of those things that we do. And hopefully that's maybe a little motivation for somebody that's listening to your podcast to go forth and do even better.
So I came home and I told my staff at Doberman, I said, guess what we're going to start doing? We're going to start doing full-scale exercises that do cross-training. I learned a lot. I've been around the block, and, I'm kind of an arrogant guy, but I've been to 30 states. I've been to, disasters of every kind, every size, and I have 2 degrees in the topic, and I get to interview experts like yourself every week, and I learned a lot being out there that applies to what I do. And I was like, man, they really need to understand what we do so that, like the whole idea of communication and incident command and learning that authoritative piece and the different things that applies to even the tactical level. And so I was like, we need to develop skill-based training and exercises that allow observation and a little bit of training in cross-sector training. And by so doing it, you're creating more well-rounded, more capable people by gaining the skills that apply to them in their specific sphere of influence. You're just expanding that understanding. And so when you get out to a large-scale disaster, if you go to a car accident, especially if there's a fatal car accident or there's a chase, there's going to be fire, there's going to be police, there's going to be the tow, there's going to be, whoever. DOT is going to be possibly involved with rerouting people. And so there are a lot of elements in emergency management, emergency coordination that have to go into play, and just understanding how they work. And, oh, hey, I'm 45 feet away from the police officer. I literally cannot talk to him. Maybe an emergency manager can address that issue.